So again, I'm with the Institute for Strategic Dialogue. We're a London-based think tank. We've been around for about 10 years or so. We specialize in counter-extremism. We have expanded our role somewhat in recent times as technology has evolved to cover misinformation, disinformation, and all the things that are used by extremist groups and others to destabilize societies. We found these nexuses to be active during elections, during and after terror attacks, and so forth. And we've been specializing in analyzing all of those to suit our vision, which is a secure and cohesive society globally. To do this, we monitor and power real-world solutions to extremism polarization. We do this a number of ways, through research and policy advisory, through technology, through our own technology, and working with tech partners and social media companies in particular, and also networks. I myself have come to ISD in terms of dealing with community groups and community engagement. That's sort of my specialty, and it's really, really important to understand how partnerships are really the key for any of these solutions to be implemented. You see a number of our reports that have been issued around engagement, around elections, around disinformation, and so forth. You can find these on our website. But getting back to the Strong Cities Network, the Strong Cities Network is one of our flagship programs, which we launched at the UN General Assembly in 2015. We started with 25 founder members, and the whole principle of the Strong Cities Network was that cities are really at the forefront of, the front lines of dealing with extremism and division and social cohesion, and we wanted to make sure that they could collaborate and coordinate in a better way, and this is the way that we decided to do it. We started with 25 cities. Obviously, we've been speaking a lot today about how cities are have noted a rise in migration, strain on resources, and so forth. We've seen, obviously, terrorist attacks, deaths from terrorist attacks rise dramatically over the past decade, most of those in cities that we've mentioned today. Hate crimes as well, up significantly in Europe and North America in particular. And again, we wanted to make sure that cities could coordinate to deal with this challenge. In the few years that we've been managing the Strong Cities Network, we've grown from those 25 cities to 123 cities globally. It's led by a steering committee of 15 mayors. We've done quite a bit over those years. We've trained 2,000 practitioners, including 500 city officials and over 100 mayors. We've built first-of-their-kind models of local prevention networks, which I'll get into in a little bit, across the Middle East, and these are in partnership with cities in Europe and the Middle East. And we've launched a extreme speech mapping tool, which I'll also get to. And this is a tool that basically we designed in response to the needs of cities and mayors to understand what was happening online. One of the things that we really specialize in is trying to make the connection between the instigation that happens online and the effects that happen offline, particularly with communities. And doing more research and applying more technology to those solutions, we feel will be extremely useful. Again, keeping in mind all the human rights requirements, such as data privacy and so forth. You know, threading all these needles requires partners who are experts in all of these fields. Just to give you a little snapshot by region, the 123 cities include many from every sector of the world, every continent of the world: Africa, Europe, the MENA region, North America, and so forth. We've got some growth regions that we're currently expanding in. In fact, I've got a team in Bangladesh at the moment, but we're looking at Southeast Asia, Central Asia, and Asia Pacific. Again, areas that we've found unique challenges. Now, when you look at all these cities, they're extremely different cities. We've got cities as diverse as, we've got London, Paris, New York, and Paris on the one hand. We've got Mombasa, Dakar, Senegal, Medellin, Colombia on the other hand. So extremely diverse group of cities, each with their own mixes of communities, each with their own resource challenges, each with their own experiences of extremism and terrorism. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that people can share their experiences and their best practices through this network. And we've done so in a number of ways. We've had global summits We've had 3 so far in Melbourne, Aarhus, and Antalya in Turkey, with hundreds of mayors and representatives, all sharing their experiences over multi-day summits. We've had city exchanges where the cities themselves exchange staff and work on specialized projects, mostly regarding prevention, local prevention networks. We ourselves conduct training, both for young people and for practitioners around the world within the network. And we've done this in Africa and the Balkans and South Asia. We've trained hundreds of practitioners in that regard. Just to give you a spectrum of what we're dealing with, the Strong Cities Network really covers this spectrum from the sharp end, if you will, counterterrorism, to the soft end, which is cohesion, integration, and social polarization, and countering hate. As we started the Strong Cities Network, we made sure that our members were leading that dialogue, and we found a lot of interest in the soft end of the spectrum. Even though all of it is covered and all of it is important, we found that the needs were, how do they deal with keeping their communities resilient? It's something that provides its own challenges, particularly providing impact, which we do our own sort of research on methodologies to make sure that we can demonstrate impact in the programs that we put in place, but also the partnerships that are required to do that. We've spoken with Chris at Uber, who just was up here on the panel. He's one of the many people that we've spoken to included in these dialogues. I know I'm short on time. Just to give you a sense of our objective. I'm okay? Yeah. Just a quick snapshot of our objectives. We are looking at a number of things, knowledge and data in particular. We ourselves provide the research around this with our team on designing, delivering, evaluating programming that will particularly suit the needs and the resources of the cities in the network. We also do policy advice. Because we're dealing with cities, we can coordinate policy advice between national governments, local governments, and of course, looking at issues like human rights, community needs, social cohesion, and so forth. Training, we provide that training as part of the Strong Cities Network in a number of areas, from counter messaging with young people to PCVE training for practitioners. We deliver these models, again, through the Strong Cities Network, which has been a great, a network beyond just our own capabilities. And then partnerships. The important thing about partnerships here is that, we're coordinating sectors. We're coordinating civil society sectors with government sectors, both on the national and local level, but also the private sector. I know that that's come up quite a few times here. But coordinating all these sectors is a monumental task. These sectors alone, because we're an independent NGO, we find ourselves in a unique position where we've built trust with all these sectors. And we found that trust unlocks this potential. And that's something that we want to keep leveraging. So just to give you another quick idea of sort of the ecosystem of our activities. I mentioned the Global Summit, which you can see at the top, which is again, the main event that coordinates all the members of our network. We've got the regional workshops that we do. We've done this in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Local action planning, where we work with communities to identify the local risks and mitigation steps. Subnational exchanges, which is what we coordinate between the cities. We have ourselves an online hub that we've produced. This is, again, an informational resource for members of the network. We have designed the models, again, that our cities have adopted and are building on, and in fact, feeding into. We provide our own bespoke research and training for the network. That's part of what we do as a think tank. And then the policy engagement. All of this will ultimately result in policy advisory, and we have to be that sort of intermediary to make sure that we have responsible policy that looks into all the requirements that a cohesive society needs. I'm going to skip that in the interest of time. One of the things that we're most proud of is the City Hate Mapper, which is basically an online digital observatory. This is something that has actually, again, come up from our conversations with cities. How do you convert that trend mapping that happens online within a community and look at how it affects communities offline? And what if you, as a municipality, had access to this data and we're able to proactively respond to it in order to prevent a degradation in social cohesion or in the imminent aftermath of a terrorist attack. This is something that we've been piloting in a few cities, and we're improving it. And this is a tool that I think has the most potential to provide, a real usable resource. We've also, corroborated that with the needs of privacy advocates. We use online open source data. We don't do any surveillance. We want to make sure that the communities that we've built trust in know that we are doing this to protect them, not to surveil on them. And again, building that trust is a long journey, but we wanted to make sure that that's something that we can do effectively. So again, just to sum up, our goal is safe cities and inclusive cities. Both can go hand in hand. Both have different requirements. We've talked a little bit about the bit on the end on safe cities, which include things that we've spoken about here today: community policing, preparation and response, the logistics of being safe. The inclusive cities is the other bit where we require, we require resources to provide things like counter messaging. We've tested this in a number of cities worldwide through some of our other networks. We've done it through elections in Kenya and other places. Anti-bias training. Our private sector partners have done some of this work in their own companies. Workforce inclusion, youth engagement. A quick example of how the private sector plays into this. Some notable examples that have happened before. Again, we've had Uber on the stage. We have other companies like Hyatt, PayPal, and Airbnb have prevented their services being used by hate groups. Counterterrorism. We've got Marks and Spencer's in the UK developing a training scheme that can help prevent terror attacks. On the other side, social polarization, we've got education, youth engagement, and community outreach programs. We do also a very comprehensive digital literacy program with Google in the UK called Be Internet Citizens. We've got a similar program for counter-speech with Facebook in the UK called the Online Civil Courage Initiative. So all of these things, they're on our website. You can look up more there. But all of these things work together to provide this combination of resilience and safety that's necessary for communities to be cohesive. Moving forward, we're looking on building model cities from our Strong Cities Network to demonstrate the best of what we have to offer, increasing our regional training workshops, building out our local prevention networks. Again, these have mostly been in the Middle East. We have a young cities model, which is basically a model of working with young people to provide messaging to push back against some of the issues and grievances that they have that deal with extremism. City consultations, again, I mentioned my team is in Bangladesh at the moment, and we have other teams looking at other communities around the world. I gotta cut it off, I'm sorry, and so forth. So the main thing I want to say is that the growth of this is, the growth and scale of the Strong Cities Network over the past few years is sort of evidence that this is something that is very necessary. And we've seen the data so far, and it shows that this approach is working. And it's something we want to continue. For more information, you can go to our website at strongcitiesnetwork.org, or you can go to our own website at ISD, isdglobal.org, and there's a lot more information there. There's the workshop tomorrow at 4 p.m. on soft target prevention. I'll be at that workshop if you have any questions, or you can feel free to pull me aside if you want to know anything more. Thank you very much.